You see this dog, she's about a year old. She is a really cool dog. She's a little bit stubborn, but that's kind of to be expected, I guess. And she's also a puppy. Now, looking at her, you might think that she's part golden retriever. I mean, she kind of looks like one, just quite a bit smaller. Well, actually, no. She is Basset Hound Schnauzer and Australian Shepherd. Yeah, we got her DNA tested. Now, this dog, this little chewy, rambunctious dog, not this one, but this dog is the one that chewed through the cable on this controller. I was wondering why it wasn't working when I was trying to play with it, and I followed the line, and this is what it looked like. So as you can see, she almost got it completely clean through. Now, luckily it wasn't plugged in, so I don't think it would have shocked her even if it was. There's not a whole lot of power going through those. And look how disgusting these controllers get. I mean, couldn't they have made these a little bit easier to clean? Especially on the sides? Ugh. Anyway, we're gonna fix it today with what else other than a soldering iron, a stripper, whatever that black tape is, electrical tape, and some solder. Now, I kind of want to talk about my soldering iron for a little bit. It's nothing new, but I'm kind of excited because this is the second thing in my entire life I've ever soldered, and it's a wireless soldering iron by means of butane gas with upside down instructions that I fixed there. It's also missing one of the heads. It has like a knife and a blowtorch. It's really cool. Anyway, this is nothing new. I'm sure people who have soldered a lot are like, yeah, I was using that 20 years ago. Also, who the heck didn't clean my soldering head? Anyway, to start up this iron, I just gotta flame the torch there. It'll smolder after a little bit, and then the iron gets pretty dang hot. I can control the heat output, but I'm keeping it turned off. And I also realized I really shouldn't do this on a flammable surface, so I have tile down there. So first step, we need to cut the wire that she almost chewed through, and then we gotta strip off both ends of this wire. Now, I did not strip this one far enough back, but I did go back later once I realized that and stripped more of it. The second wire that I stripped here, I did strip enough of it off the first time, so that was good. But this wire was really tough, or my strippers just really suck. I'm not really sure which, but there it goes. Not nearly enough, but that's kind of what it looks like. And then I'm gonna do the same thing to the other wire. And one of these is connected to the controller, the other one's connected to the USB port that goes to the console. I'm not really sure which. Now, it is true, this controller is only 30 bucks. I could just go out and buy another one, but hey, I wanted to try to fix it. I mean, why not? It's going to be worthless this way, and if I can fix it, at least I'll be able to use it for a little while longer. So, now I'm going to strip back some of this mesh that's here. I'm not actually sure that mesh does anything. I don't think there's any data or whatever that goes through it. I think all of that is in these 4 cables that is hidden inside of this tinfoil, and there's also some strings there, and I'm assuming that that's there to add strength so you can kind of tug on the wire and it won't hurt that so much. Now, the problem with these 4 little tiny wires is that they are so tiny that my strippers didn't go that small. I would have had to have gone out and bought some really tiny stripping tools, but I looked online and found you can actually just burn off the insulation. You kind of got to be careful with this because you are playing with fire, and I would not recommend using matches because that's going to smell up your house. I have my window open. You can kind of see the smoke kind of going to the top right of the screen. That's going right outside to my window, so it is well ventilated at least. But I think you'd be a little bit better off just using a lighter, something that isn't as smelly, and I almost went through a whole box of matches while doing this. Now, I didn't actually strip off enough that first time, so I've gotta redo it. And you just kind of pull it off with your fingers once it gets burning here. I mean, I'm sure this is an old trick. I just was amazed that this actually worked. I didn't have to go anywhere. I just use a match, burn it off. And then eventually I do that for all of the other wires on both ends of this cable. And you can see there, it actually does strip it off pretty well. It's not hot enough to melt the wire or really do any damage to it. It's just going to get rid of the insulation. And yeah, it does get smelly. Not only the matches, but that insulation doesn't smell too good. And this is at 800% speed, which just kind of tells you how long it took me to actually do this. And I just did this with all of the other 4 wires on this cable and as well as the second one. When you're pulling it off, you really got to time it well between being cool enough so it doesn't singe your fingertips, because I'm pretty sure I burned off my fingertips while doing this, and you also have to make it to where it's brittle enough you can just pull it straight off. I'm pretty sure if you burned it and then you just let it cool anyway, it'd probably come off no matter what you did. But anyway, yeah, I did kind of lose my fingertips. So here's the end result. I had to go and burn off a couple more of these a little bit later because I realized I didn't burn off enough insulation as I did the first time with the bigger wire. And then I did this with the other cable, just because I'm not going to go through doing that for both of them in the video because I already did it. And now we got to get into soldering them. And this is the part that might make some people cringe. In fact, this whole video of people who work with cables and solder them all day long probably are already cringing. But you know, this is the second thing I've ever soldered. The first thing was the stepper motors inside my last truck. Because all the stepper motors were broken, but that'd be a totally different video, although I don't own that truck anymore, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I managed to tie together, or I guess just barely twist together, these black wires, and then the soldering iron I melted the solder with and did my best to get the two things connected. I wasn't really too worried about looks because no one's going to be looking at it, and as long as it is connected and it works, it doesn't really matter what it looks like anyway. I'm probably never getting rid of this controller, and I doubt I would have even if my dog hadn't chewed through the cable. So it doesn't really matter what the end result looks like, but I do kind of get this to go, and then I kind of remelt the solder just to get it to wrap around it, which is something that I was told to do. I don't know if it matters or not, but then I let the solder cool and wrap it with electrical tape here in a second, and then I'm going to be soldering each and every one of those wires that are left. Now here is probably one of the messier parts. Now I did my best to clean it up. I snipped off some of the electrical tape that was just hanging off. Did nothing about the burn tape because I kind of messed up there, and man, that stuff is horrible smelling. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And then I decided to wrap this up as best as I could. So this pretty much probably will look the worst, but I just wanted to smash it all together. Again, I'm not really too sure that that mesh wiring that mesh wiring really does anything, so I wasn't too sure if I had to solder this, but I wanted to at this point just for strength. Now I realized that my little soldering wire here wasn't really big enough to get this done quickly, so I walked off in a little bit and cut right back to where I got my bigger soldering wire, and that's where it kind of went a little bit smoother. So then I finally got this kind of attached together, and then I taped the whole thing, and then after that we're going to be checking if it actually works. This is the end final result. Yep, doesn't really look that good at all. Again, I really wish I could have shrink wrapped this. Maybe I'll do that one day. But anyway, here's the electrical tape finish. Yep, also looks beautiful, doesn't it? And then we're going to be taking this out into my room, plugging it into my Xbox, and see if it actually powers on. And what do you know, it actually works. Okay, we really shouldn't be that surprised. I connected the same color cables and soldered them together, taped them together, and hopefully secured them well enough that this is going to work as long as I don't jerk on that part of the controller. But I was a little bit surprised that even with all the time it took that it did work. I thought for sure I'd have messed something horrendously up and it would have broken forever, but no, looks like the controller will live through another dog chewing until I have to do this all over again. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. I know it's a little bit different, but hey, why not?